Hi, my name is Joel Esposito. I'm a professor at the Naval Academy and I teach robotics and control engineering. And today I want to talk about how AI could impact higher education, especially at United States military academies. So, for the last year or so, it's virtually impossible to go on any type of um, newspaper or news site and not see a story about ChatGPT and generative AI. It can do so many incredible things. It can write essays, it can write computer code, it can translate between languages, and it's just an incredible technology. But just recently, I came across an article where it took a series of tests, the kind of tests our students often take, right? So it took the SAT, they got a 1420 on the SAT. Full disclosure, I didn't get a 1420 on the SAT. It took an array of AP exams and passed enough of them that it could place out of effectively the first year curriculum at all of our service academies in most colleges. Extremely impressive. When you see something like this, though, as amazing as it is, it's also a little bit scary. It's also a little bit disconcerting. You have to wonder, um, is there potential for this technology to be abused? Could students use it for cheating? Could it be maybe, cause us to lose certain skills or become overly reliant on the technology? So it's tempting to do what many institutions did that first year. Their knee-jerk reaction was to ban the technology, just not allowed to be used on campus. But if history has taught us anything, it's that banning a technology usually doesn't work. We can go back 1,000 years ago to when the crossbow was first introduced on the battlefield. It upset the social order, it upset the hierarchy. A peasant could pick off a knight from hundreds of yards away. So much so that the Pope attempted to ban or prohibit the use of this technology. But we all know the way warfare works. It didn't work. It went from muskets to machine guns to missiles and drones here. Often the winning side is the side that uses every tool and technology at their disposal. So maybe a better analogy then is to turn our attention towards the calculator. Back in the 60s, calculators were so expensive that only large corporations or governments could have them, and they were a great productivity enhancer. But by about 1975, the cost of the calculator came down to the point where every household could have one. And students became people became concerned that students were going to become too reliant on these machines, that they might lose old skills that we once valued, like mental math or the ability to estimate things. Very wisely, though, the American Association of Mathematics Teachers, they got together and they took a step back and they said, we can't ban this. Even the Pope can't ban technology, right? So maybe it's a chance for us to embrace it, right? Maybe this is an opportunity to us to think about what skills we really value, what are our values, and how we can use this technology to enhance those values. And of course, here we are 50 years later, where we have calculators that advertise as being recommended by teachers and approved for all the exams, and we issue them to our students. So what I'm going to do next is present a series of opportunities or scenarios, ways that we can use this new AI technology, I hope, to double down on our values. And some of these examples might seem controversial or provocative. And if they make you uncomfortable, I just challenge you to think about like what it is that we value at the service academies and how this technology could help us. So let's jump right in. Here's my first scenario. This fall is a time-honored tradition. Thousands of students across the United States, college, high school seniors, were writing college essays. And it's part of that tradition. I argued with my own kids about doing these and getting them done on time. And many students out there use ChatGPT to write their essay for them. And that maybe seems like, unfair, or like it's cheating, and it may well be. And then still other students maybe used it as an aid. So what if in the admissions portals, right, in the application website for all the service academies, what if we not just like look the other way when students use this tool, but what if we embedded this tool there as a coach to help each student write a better essay, tell them their story in a more compelling way, to proofread what they had to say? Does that feel unfair? Does that feel like it's cheating? Well, we have to step back and ask ourselves, I mean, how many other students maybe didn't use this technology, but they had an educated parent that helped them proofread their essay, or maybe a paid consultant to help them write their essays. Taking a further step back, like, why do we have a holistic admissions process in the first place? And I think the answer is because we value equitable access to resources. We realize that by embracing equity, we can expand the talent pool available to the Department of Defense. Right? We can get in all this untapped talent and give it a chance to kind of shine. And that's why we have this excellent public education, right? Because we believe in that. So if that's the case, then we have to ask ourselves, how can we use this technology to double down on that value, right? How can we use this technology to help non-native English speakers or first generation college students who don't have someone to proofread their essay? Maybe we can even give this technology to an entire disadvantaged school system from an underrepresented congressional district, right? Effectively giving them a college counselor that has experience with getting students into the service academies. So again, we took something that maybe seemed uncomfortable at first, maybe it was cheating, but we circled back to our values, right? And we're realizing that we can use technology to enhance or double down on the things that we value. So my next example is inspired by something recent from Khan Academy. If you don't know, Khan Academy is this excellent resource where students can go on and get supplemental materials to learn just about any subject, calculus to physics. But just recently, the CEO partnered with OpenAI, ChatGPT fame, and they're working on a chatbot that's a tutor. This technology, I played with it earlier, so impressive, right? It literally just in this encouraging, pleasant voice, it coaches the students through without giving them answers, step by step, how to tackle all these problems. Unlike me, it never runs out of patience. It's an incredible technology. So what if we could give all of our students access to this? What if we replaced our writing center, our tutoring center on campus, the Center for Academic Excellence, with this technology? Does that feel wrong to you? Does that feel like we're losing something or cheating? Again, you have to go back to what it is that we value in a service academy education. Why do we pride ourselves on having small class sizes, right? Why do we use faculty or senior officers in roles where, like, another university would just use a staff member, like for academic advising or admissions? And I think it's because what we really value is giving our students personalized support anywhere, anytime they need it. I mean, that's why I have an open door policy in my office. So again, how can we use technology to double down on that value? Imagine we could use AI to ensure that every cadet had 24/7 access to a personalized tutor. Every varsity athlete could have a personalized strength and conditioning coach and nutritionist. And every midshipman, whether they were on leave or at sea, could have access to some kind of wellness counseling. It's a chance, again, for us to scale up our commitment to personalized support anywhere, anytime. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook fame, one thing that he's really excited about right now is not necessarily making a better, smarter version of ChatGPT, for example, but rather to make a version that has kind of the voice or personality of somebody, right? So this vision they have is to create chatbots for all different celebrities. The example he uses is Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift would love to interact with every one of her fans one-on-one, but there's just not enough hours in the day to do that. So instead, what if we could have a virtual Taylor Swift that every fan could interact with? They could say things like, what inspires you to write your last album? What's your favorite part of performing? And so on. That would be an incredible way for her to build her community. So what if the service academies did something like that, right? What if we launched a series of chatbots for recruiting, mentoring, and admissions? What if, like, for example, a young lady in Iowa who's thinking about joining the Air Force but doesn't have any mentors or role models could talk to the Air Force's first female fighter pilot and ask her about some of the obstacles she overcame? What if the star football player we're trying to recruit could interact with Pat Tillman and ask him about why he left the NFL to become an Army Ranger? Or ethics students could ask Colonel Ripley about the challenges he faced in Vietnam. Or aspiring STEM student could ask Admiral Allen about the Deepwater Horizon oil spill experience. These could be amazing opportunities. Again, how do they align with our values? We have to think about why do we communicate through public affairs officers? Because we want to have a consistent message across different platforms. Why do we educate our admission staff and our academic advisors on evolving requirements? Because we always want to have accurate information we're giving out. Why do we do DEI training? Because we want to communicate free of bias. So if AI can help us do those things, right? If it can kind of scale that up, right? To have a consistent message, to have accurate information, free of personal bias, then I think that we should embrace that, right? In all aspects of what we do, from recruiting to admissions to alumni relations. So, of course, I am an advocate for AI, and that's what I'm really here to talk about. But I would be remiss if I didn't bring up some of the risks involved in this technology. So, the risks I'm going to talk about here today are not science fiction. There's not going to be anything here about robots taking over the world. These are some very real risks that we face right now. So, the first risk is that the benefit of AI is that we can scale up the number of people that we interact with, right? But the danger is that if it's not done right, right, we can inherit these minor slight biases from our training data, but then when we scale it up, it can have an impact on millions of people, right? So a great example of this is the recent controversy over Navy Federal Credit Union, the nation's largest credit union. They didn't want to deny Black people on their mortgage applications. No one made a decision to do that, okay? But the algorithm they created inadvertently had a slight bias against applicants of color, and that percolated up to affect millions of people. So this is what Kathy O'Neill in her book refers to as weapons of math destruction. Okay, so this systemic bias, we have to take steps to guard against that being built into these automated or algorithmic approaches. The second risk is that we risk losing old skills. I'll be the first person to admit that I forgot how to do long division with decimals. I tried to teach my daughter the other day, it just didn't come back to me. And I think that's okay. I think we can accept that that's a 20th century skill. But there's other things that we do, and you have to kind of re-examine why we do them. For example, running. I'm a big runner myself, but we've certainly invented many other ways to get from point A to point B faster than that. So why do we continue to emphasize it so much at the service academies? Maybe we feel running is a proxy for something else, like discipline or hard work. But there's other ways we could exercise those muscles. Why do we teach celestial navigation? I think it's because GPS can be hacked. So we don't want to overly rely on it. But then by that logic, why not just teach the slide rule? Because that can't be hacked either, right? If someone came up with a technology to make your bed for you, would you use it? Would you let the midshipmen and cadets use it? Or do you feel there's value still in that skill? These are conversations we have to have. What do we value and why? The last risk is really an interesting one because I don't have a solution for it at all. But when I look at this picture, I think about myself. I think about all the hours I spent driving my kids around to different activities. And I feel bad for this mom. She is clearly at her wits' end here. She is losing her temper on these kids. I say, surely we have technology to solve this problem. So maybe a driverless car, for example, could get these kids where they need to be when they need to be there. And it probably would even do a better job. It probably would be safer. It wouldn't be distracted yelling at the kids in the back seat. It'd probably take a more fuel efficient route and so on. But that's not really what's going on in this picture, right? It's not just someone losing their temper. This mom is taking an opportunity to impart her values upon the people that she is training. She is taking a minute here to remind them of the importance of sharing or getting along with your sibling or being respectful to your mother or whatever it is. It's not why they're in the car. It's not the purpose. The purpose is just to get transportation. But this unplanned interaction is a chance for her to impart her values on the people she's training. I think we all have examples in life like that. That ChatGPT style tutor, it may never go off on a tangent, right? In the same way that I might in my class kind of go off on a sidebar about some different topic. But every now and then, it's that little tangent that inspires or interests a student in a new field of study when they want to pursue something in grad school. If I ask a lot of you why you joined the military, I'm sure I would hear stories of perhaps a coach you had, a basketball coach. You went to practice to learn to play basketball better, but that coach was in the military. They were an alumni of a service academy, and they became a mentor, a role model to you, and influenced your life. It's these kind of interactions that, even though they might not be as efficient as the automated solution, they're irreplaceable. They play a role in our lives that can sometimes shape our future. And we have to be careful to still have opportunities to have these spontaneous interactions despite a reliance on technology. So, with that, I want to leave you today with a challenge. And the challenge is to go forth in your small groups or when you go back to your daily life to kind of brainstorm and think about how can we use this technology? How can we embrace it to double down and scale up our values? How can we use it to have more equitable access to resources, more personalized anywhere, anytime support for our students, and communicate our message in the most accurate, unbiased way possible, while still mitigating some of the risks we talked about here today? I hope I gave you a lot to think about. I probably have more questions that I put in your mind than answers, and that was intentional. So I hope you'll go forth and have an interesting discussion about this technology. Thanks so much for your time. Bye.